Howdy, folks. It's Billy. This episode is using kind of a unique format. This one is going to be presented in sort of a magazine gazette style, very journalistic, very scholarly. So the theme of this episode is kind of the federalization of Premodern. That there's a new influx of new players, and that there is a change in the environment of tournament structures, or rather rumblings therefore. Not quite there yet, but we'll see how it all works out. The three featured guests, which were so kind to join me, were Hodge, a New England local, but that's commissioner to you. He is starting up a points tracking system to measure a season of tournament results across the New England area. It's kind of a neat idea, and I'm excited to see how it all works out. Next, the second guest is Thomas Q from the Rose City Premodern scene. Rose City Premodern, you might know them from YouTube. They do the PM video series. They're starting up an invitational event, so a different interpretation of what like a cross tournament structure could look like. And last, I close it out with a graybeard, Phil Nguyen, who does everything right and who is a wonderful resource for the community. I have a chat with him about being the new guy, the guy for the new guys, what he's observed in the New York scene, and it's an interesting episode idea. Let me know how you like it. I'm always listening to your feedback. This episode is also special because our sound editor, Ben, did a new album drop. It's like an orchestral, and it's very calm. It sounds almost like a more sophisticated version of like music for like Elden Ring or something like that. But he has an album drop with his solo compositional project. This album is called Hymns to Tourach Volume 2. You can find it on Spotify. That's how I listen to it. And the episode music for this one is going to be a selection of musical movements from that piece. It's ethereal, it's brooding, and it's cool. It's going to be an interesting experience, and I'm excited to see what he does with it in post-production. So yeah, thanks for listening, and let's see how this episode goes. Thanks. Welcome, everybody, to Hardcast. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Hodge. He is a local homie from the New England scene. And to you, dear listener, his name is Commissioner. So lately in the local Premodern scene in New England, and then just Premodern at large, we have like this density of crews. It's kind of like the opposite of atomization kind of going on. So in a world where we're all becoming more and more fragmented, something interesting that's happening in Premodern is that players are forming play groups, and then play groups are forming sort of like regional areas based around major metropolitan areas, and then it's looking like that as more players are getting involved, there's sort of this density that's occurring. And with a new influx of new MTGO players, with LobsterCon selling out super quick, we are experiencing something really neat. And I think we're kind of in the beginning of it at this moment, where players are able to kind of, I use the word federalize. It might not be the right word. Maybe some political science student can correct me, some sociologist. I don't know the word for it. But there's a density of premodern happening right now. And I have invited the august officer, Commissioner Hodge, to join Hardcast to talk about it. My name's Billy. Hodge, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Billy. Always happy to be here, and always happy to talk about the CCL.
Yeah. So the CCL, what is that?
So the CCL, I mean, as you mentioned, in general, with the growth of pre-modern, especially in New England, crews have been popping up where people are on the zoo crew, the duress crew, all that type of stuff. And I think the basic idea for the CCL was people wanted to have a little more bragging rights. Duress crew is better than zoo crew, and who won this event and who won that event. And so we started the CCL to try to track all this stuff. So basically, everyone in these tournaments will keep track of their records, keep a score, and we'll see what people do with that information.
So the CCL Crew Clash League, and you're the commissioner. I know you as a local treasure in that you're this like chill, calm guy. You're not too outspoken. You're very you have a lot of like gameplay courtesy, which I admire and seek to emulate. And you perform this social function where you show up and then you write down like who's in the top 8, and people can always DM you, or I don't know if they can or if they should, but they do. And frequently people, particularly in the New England Premodern Discord, they DM you and they go, "Hey Hodge, who's in the top 8? How's it going? Who won?" So I think this is kind of like a natural expansion of like what you're up to.
I agree. I think of it as kind of taking it from the paper notebook, which is what I've always done with the top 8s. Just I don't write them down anywhere; they don't get stored anywhere. And now we're storing things in spreadsheets and things that people will be able to look back however long they want to.
One of the ways that I enjoy Magic, I enjoy Magic by playing it, but I also like part of this hobby for me is Magic analysis. In that I like to have a spreadsheet and I like to take notes, and like doing the analysis is part of how I choose to enjoy this hobby. I'm getting the perception that this is also a part of your, recreational behavior.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say being a data gatherer has always been a thing for me. I work in a very data centric job, or at least I did, and things have shifted. But yeah, no, I would say the funny thing is I like to gather the data. I would say I'm not so much of an analyzer of the data as much. Like I intuit some things from the data, but I'm never doing any math or anything trying to calculate anything out. But gathering the data, I love doing that.
I always tell myself that I can do better analysis than I can. I can do. I consider my like data analysis skills as like kind of like sophomoric, and I think I know what to collect, but a lot of it is so laborious to either collect or to analyze. But we're getting a bit too nerdy. So the Crew Clash League. So we've got all these crews, and it was just like Boston and New York for Premodern for the longest time, and now there's like Duress Crew in Worcester, and then there was Zoo Crew in like Marlborough, Framingham, like Middlesex County. And there's a Providence team now, and there's a South Shore team. There's a Western Mass team. How many? Can you tell me a bit about the like team eligibility requirements? Is it all of Duress Crew, or like what's up?
Specifically for the CCL,
Yeah.
no, really. Anyone who wants to jump into the CCL, we were totally fine with, including people who were crewless. If crewless wanted to make a team, we were totally fine with that. I know we jokingly have said, because more and more people, even in the main Discord, are saying, "Hey, what do I need to do to make a crew?" And I think the joke is you just have to say you're a crew, and we're totally down with it. I'm not aware of any public actions that you have to take to be an actual crew. But yeah, so that's how I'd put it. We've going into the CCL more specifically. I know we hit 16 teams in the CCL. Of those, 5 were crewless, and 2 of the crews have 2 teams because they're so large. So I guess the math comes out to we have 9 crews and 5 teams of crewless.
So okay, so this is kind of an important distinction. So the
Mm-hmm.
CCL league is a league of teams, not a league of crews. Although naturally the two could be anticipated to be linked.
Yes, we decided to go with I'm calling it a 2-tier system because some crews are obviously gigantic compared to others. So we're tracking everything by team. So there are certain, those teams should be a max of, I think we said 8 people at this point. So some crews, like the Duress crew, have 2 I think 7 people teams, 7 or 8. And other people have 3 people on their crew / team, and that's it.
So how is this? Okay, so I've got my team together.
Mhm.
I don't know what team I'm on. Duress Crew fielded 2 teams. I think we split it up so that like those who tend to be event staff, such as myself, Jay, and Nick and Brad, we split ourselves up across 2 teams so that we always
Mhm.
fielded some amount of people. But how does scoring work?
Scoring. So on a team level, we decided to say that the top 3 points earners in an event for a team will be their team points for that event. That way, if only 3 of you can show up and other people can't show up, it won't affect it. Or if everyone shows up, it's a little more fair than saying, okay, this crew of 8, we're going to count all their points versus this crew of 3. So top 3 points from an event, and how we're scoring points is if you showed up, you get a point. If you made top 8, you're going to get a bonus 2 points. And then everything else is literally just your tournament score. So a win will earn you 3 points, a draw will earn you 1 point, and a loss earns you none. And after everything, we'll just tally it all up. And the top 3 people on your team for that event will be your team score for the event.
So this model seems like it rewards a couple things. It rewards both high play skill, but it also rewards rolling deep. Like one would
Yes.
expect, even if you had 3 quite good players, like lots of people aren't. I've let me think. I think I'm medium good, but like who's really good? I have seen. I think like yesterday. I think Rich Shea started off 2-2, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe he could have chosen to drop. Meanwhile, one of his teammates might be like running hot or might have discovered like the newest tech or gotten a couple banger games in a row. Bunch of sneeps, bunch of one victorious die rolls. So I think I like this in that the just for showing up you get a point, and just for like it rewards being social in that you want to roll deep and you want to include people. Like if I have a team of 6, my team is better served if I have 8 people on it. So I should go make 2 friends. Um,
But yes, I fully agree with that. Like the number of times yesterday people came up and said, I normally would have dropped. I'm 0-3, but because my crew needs points, I'm going to keep playing. Definitely pushes for playing the entire event, no matter what your record is. Um, but also, I think it rewards the top eighters just enough that it's not crazy that the person who gets first automatically makes their team like insanely high in points. But yeah, that was kind of the goal, is to try to make it a little more balanced, add some bonus points where we need it. Um, and after this first one, it felt pretty good looking at the results.
So this first one was, I'm going to offer some background to the listeners. So New England, being the capital of Premodern in the world, I said it, and I'm not sorry. You can play Premodern several times a week. If you're willing to drive an hour on a weeknight, you can play PM probably 5 nights a week, and every day on the weekend. Let me think. Yeah. Let's see here. You got Tuesday in Bellingham, Mass. You got a Friday in Bellingham, Mass. You got a whole bunch of Saturdays. And you got every other Sunday in Marlborough, Mass. The opposite Sunday you can play in New Hampshire. And there are further stores beyond this. There's a bunch of house games. I play a house game once a week. And let's see here. I know there's a house game starting up. Not a house game, a brewery game, bar league, starting up in Hopkinton. You can ask about that in the New England Premodern Discord. But New England is the capital of Premodern, and others will disagree. They are wrong. So in New England, there's generally these weeklies, but the premier monthly event is held at ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. It's run by ELD. The Vintage Homies will know him. And it has historically gotten between 20 and 40 people. But yesterday, how many did we get yesterday, Hodge?
So yesterday we had 70 pre-signed up, and after everything, it looks like we had 66. So
66.
Almost doubling our normal amount.
That's phenomenal. Normally it's 5 rounds, which is kind of malarkey, because if you 3-0, then you can double ID.
Yeah.
Something else that's fun there is that if you win, you end up with a like a laser cut and laser etched wooden deck box of ELD's design. So that's something of it's kind of a local indicator of like not quite a poker ring, but it's like when I see a wooden deck box, I'm like, okay, this person knows how to play.
Yeah.
So 66 players yesterday. Do you know how many of those 66 were associated with the team?
So from what I can tell, unless I'm trying to track names between the two spreadsheets, but I think I saw 51 people were a part of the CCL, so 15 people were not. Although a few of those I know have chatted with me about making a crew, a couple guys from Rhode Island, but they have not done it yet.
Okay, that's so cool.
So yeah, 51.
51 of the 60. Okay, so it sounds like ELD owes you some money, because
well, considering how large what we call the wonton bracket was yesterday, maybe not, because he had to buy a lot of appetizers all day for everybody.
So some context there. So Eric has seating for about 40 to 45 people, but he has a standing arrangement with the Chinese food store next door, restaurant. And however, naturally, if they're going to seat people, they must be customers. So they're not filled out on a Saturday, so I'm certain they're perfectly content. And we are easy customers, because we're just trying to play the game. So we take up probably 2/3 of the restaurant, and then we get a buffet table of appetizers made up for us, which is a lovely courtesy that Eric takes upon himself. And it is very tolerant and pleasant of the restaurant to allow us to just bomb out their store. I don't know who's going on dates at noon in Bellingham, Massachusetts, and going to the Chinese restaurant, but I can imagine we don't make it very romantic. So Eric buys us all apps every round. So it's kind of a fun thing, and we call it the wonton bracket. Cool. So 66 players. let's see here. Who won yesterday? Oh, I remember. Aiden of the Duress Crew won. Duress Crew reigns supreme.
Indeed.
Hell yeah. Ben Gauthier on Burn of Duress Crew also made top 8. Let me think. Any other Duress Crew making in there?
I believe Bryce is on a
Yes,
Duress
Bryce
Crew
Menard.
team, isn't he?
Yes, our
Yep.
newest addition to the crew. Bryce Menard made it in there. I don't remember. He was on like some Tog stuff. Yeah.
He was on
Okay.
Psychotalk, yes.
Yeah. So, however, I cannot claim them all on the same team as me. Let me think. I went 5-2. I lost my winning into Ben. Perfectly content to lose to a homie. Yeah. So, Hodge, excuse me, Commissioner. Can you give me a rundown on like who's in? You don't need to give me the whole league results, but who's doing well? What do the points look like?
Well, so obviously anyone who made top 8 yesterday did really well for their team. So Aiden, for example, is obviously our points leader, having won the singular event. He has the most wins out of everybody. After that, his second place opponent, Brian Siu, is really up there with 25 points. And then after that, if we just look at the teams themselves, so even though Brian didn't win, his team, Squeeze House of Pizza, is the current CCL team leader at 57 points. Dress Crew Killabees, who Aiden won the event, are right behind them. And then the other Duress Crew team, Duress Crew, has 48 points. But yeah, looking at the spread, it looks pretty good to me. So
Maybe, how do I say this? This was the first event of this league.
yep.
Ooh, I gotta write this down. So this was the first event of this league. I guess we're talking about how to talk about this. So who is
Yes.
this is the update. Who's in the top 8 right now of the Crew Clash League? Who are the top 8 teams?
Top 8 teams. So like we mentioned, we have Squeeze House of Pizza in first, Duress Crew, Killabees right behind them, Duress Crew. We have, oh God, we still haven't picked a name for this, but my team, the Goon Squad / What's a God to a Goon in fourth, Zorkin Pest Control Service in fifth, the Granite State Grinders in sixth, Zoo Crew in seventh, and Corib MTG in eighth.
Marvelous. It'd be interesting is like a team event, like a who knows. Wow, maybe like a team event trios or something like that to close it out. But that's all just musing. You are the commissioner and your word goes. I just realized that we missed an important piece of the structure. What are the events that count towards CCL points?
So at the moment, we're breaking this down by quarter, so things can change. But for this first quarter, we're planning on doing the 3 ELD monthlies in the quarter, and then the Duress Crew Regional in February. So it'll be 4 events. That could change. I'm open to if someone's hosting a large event, as long as there's sufficient notice for the crews and the crews are interested in going. But in general, the structure right now is planning on 3 monthlies and a regional-like tournament for the CCL.
I think that's great. I think that such a thing is so. There's a lot of nuance of like, oh, can I switch teams, or like, hey, this is malarkey. It turns out that if you look where everybody lives, it was just people who live like between Worcester and Providence, all shredded because the Duress Crew Regional is south of Worcester, and Bellingham is halfway between Worcester and Providence. And it's like, oh, it's just literally just show up and just play whatever, and your team ends up winning. Naturally, I would expect like a team from, I don't know, inland northern Maine. I don't know, people who like eat bears and live in the shadow of, they drink from the Penobscot River and live in the shadow of Mount Katahdin. I can imagine that they probably won't do well because it's tough to send that many people to central Massachusetts. So I think this is a very sober level of involvement to run a league. I think this is really, I think your head's screwed on straight about this because this is the first time we've done, like as a local community, this is the first time we've done something that's just, linked one event to another, if that makes sense.
Yes. One thing I did want to say from what you were mentioning about the mainers, every team in the CCL, at least one person showed up yesterday, which is crazy to think about.
Were there any teams that failed to field at least 3 players?
Well, so there are some teams that don't even have 3 players on them. So yes, the Seacoast Siege Gang had a player. A couple of the Mainers, the Deranged Hermits, both their teams had a couple players. Hammerfist, which is actually a pretty large team, relatively local, only had 1 player, although he did top 8, so that's pretty good for them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me think. Do you have any like future? All right. So do you have like a moonshot goal, like a stretch goal, and like a safety goal for how this goes?
Well, the safety goal is really just to keep going as it is. Maintain the data. People can derive whatever they want from the data, any bragging rights. The stretch goal this year for me is definitely to try to set up maybe some sort of invitational, whether it means like one person from each team plus the top 16 individual players or something like that. Still haven't figured it out. Something that could maybe cap off the end of the year as kind of a final tournament for the CCL.
I think that's cool. Have you? I think that would be very nice, and it would be pre-modern is an inclusive environment, but it would be interesting to see, like as it gets bigger. Eventually, I don't want 1,000 randos at my local house game. So I think this is an indicator of like discriminating between high involvement and low involvement players and creating something that is like, oh, this is your primary Magic identity or perhaps even your primary social identity. Like this is just for, it's homies only, if that makes sense. And I think that this could reward and incentivize high involvement. So I think this is a good thing. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, and part of it as well is mostly like if we could just say, okay, we need a spot for 100 people, everyone in the CCL is invited. I would also be open to that as well. Some of it's just logistics of easier to find space for a smaller tournament that, like you said, rewards the people who are taking the CCL super seriously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything that went wrong or any like? I'm not gonna bake you into announcing any changes right now. But did anything give you an indicator of like, this was a good idea on paper, but perhaps I should make an adjustment, or like it turns out this thing that I was super anxious about is no concern at all.
Not much. I think the only thing from yesterday, I discussed this with quite a few people, is maybe making a change in quarter 2, because my original idea was that LobsterCon would be the quote unquote regional for that quarter, and it's sounding like it might make sense not to be, but I still have to figure that out. Otherwise, the point system looked good to me. I worked with Eric on getting a spreadsheet of the final results, so I didn't have to screenshot the companion app 20 times to get everyone's scores. But no, everything seemed to go pretty smoothly, and I didn't notice any bad vibes. Of course, I was kind of exiled in the wonton bracket. I was the captain who had to like maintain the clock over there. So I didn't get to see the main part of the tournament until the top 8. But no, from what I saw, everything went pretty good, and I don't really have any changes at the moment.
I think you have thought this through very well. I'm very impressed. Congratulations, Commissioner Hodge, on a great kickoff to the league. Congratulations to Squeeze House of Pizza for capturing the first spot on the leaderboard. Yeah, I think you've done a bang up job with this, and I'm stoked to see what's going to happen next.
I am as well. The growth of Premodern's been crazy, and I feel like we're all riding this wave, and I can't wait to see what happens more in the future.
Cool. I think that wraps it up. This has been Commissioner Hodge, the league commissioner for the Crew Clash League, a New England Premodern focused Premodern cross tournament points tracking system. I'm Billy, and I will catch you in either the next episode of Hardcast or the next section of Hardcast, because this one is going to be magazine style. Thanks. Welcome back to Hardcast. Lucky listeners, how lucky are you? This is part 2 of the Federalization of Premodern episode. I am joined here with Thomas from Portland, aka TQ, and we are going to talk about his new sort of super meta tournament. So there is something going on in the West Coast called the Tournament of Champions, put on by Rose City Premodern. For our listeners who are unaware, they are the hosts of PM, which is published on Heavy Play, a YouTube channel which shows a broad range of content, but what's special and near and dear to us is some paper gameplay videos. They're well produced. They have good video quality, and you should check them all out. But that's neither here nor there. Thomas, welcome to Hardcast.
Hi, Billy. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. Here. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Rose City Premodern?
Yeah, of course. I'm a little bit new to the Premodern scene. I just started coming to events in March. The format has been on my radar for a couple years. I've always liked to brew and tinker around online, so that's one of the things that actually drew me to the Premodern format. Was it seems like there's like a really wide field of possible decks, and there's a lot of really cool older cards, and so I started kind of tinkering around, and I saw that my city, Portland, has a pretty big scene, so I got connected with them and jumped in, and I've been having a blast.
So I think of Rose City Premodern as like Duress Crew's allies to the West. I quite like many of you, notably Chris Talar. He's a very nice gentleman, and I how do I say this? I think of you all quite fondly as like another like established, functional, like mature group of people who are able to put on like good events. Although I have never played Magic with any of you except for occasionally at Premodern. So how's the Premodern scene out in Portland, Oregon?
Well, thank you for the awesome compliment. that means a lot to us. The Premodern scene here is awesome. We have a lot of legacy expats who, they bring a high level of play to these events. They have a really impressive card collection. I have seen so many awesome foils and signed cards out here. But our actual events they're fantastic. So we poll about 30 players at our monthlies now. When I started showing up in March, it was about 22, 24 was pretty regular. And we've been getting a lot of growth this year. On top of our monthly, we also have 2 weekly meetups. And we also have some random bonus events that will fire on some of the months. Just some cool stuff like we're hosting a Team Trios event in February. And then, of course, our big overarching bonus event for the year is going to be the Tournament of Champions.
Excellent. So that is That is what piqued my interest and caused me to want to invite you onto the show. So the Tournament of Champions, what's going on there?
Yeah. So it kind of started as a little bit of an idea to create a spikier event for some of the Portland people. Our scene is really steeped in a lot of the old school culture, like charity, friendliness, and community, having a good time. But as we've been growing, we've been picking up more players that are interested in something of a more competitive outlet. Um, they'd like to see events that are, people playing more meta decks, people trying really hard to win. They just really like to compete, and I appreciate that too. And this event kind of started as a way to give players a more serious event. So originally it was going to be just 24 invites for just the Portland people. One invite to each of our monthly winners. And then I was going to host 12 different bonus events throughout the year, kind of weird stuff like Premodern plus 10 fetches or Premodern plus Fallen Empires. And we kind of made a last minute decision to include some of our friends in our neighboring communities. We have a really great relationship with the Emerald City Trolls, which is going to be the Seattle crew. And we also have a budding pre-modern scene down in Albany, Oregon, which is about an hour south of us. And then there's another scene that's kind of up and coming in Kennewick, Washington, which is about 3 hours northeast of us. So we wanted to reach out and give them some invites as well. And this just kept snowballing until I said, hey, we might actually have some real interest in an idea like this. So I talked with our tournament organizers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So this is as far as I am aware, in the English-speaking pre-modern environment, that this is the first sort of second-level tournament that you have to qualify for this one. You can't just show up. You got to be good. You got to win something. That's correct? That's the premise?
Yes. I think we're the first in the U.S. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes if we're the second.
Yeah.
But it really just started from I kind of wanted to host an event that I wanted to play. And we've just been going from there.
That sounds great. Pre-modern it's interesting because there's a lot of there's a very high tolerance for malarkey, just like good old fashioned, just like bullshit. Like I have myself hosted a tier 3 night where I had people over and it was like show up with garbage, just show up with a bad deck. It doesn't matter what it is. Order of the Sacred Torch hosted quite famously a no deck touching tournament. LobsterCon last year had a Unchained event. This year we're doing Unchained and we're also doing 10 fetch. So there's this tolerance and this cultural value of getting silly with it, but this is going the opposite direction. This is emphasizing a different aspect of pre-modern, which is there's a demand for it. Like people are excited about this tournament and they're talking about it. So how many slots do you have, and then how do you get a slot?
Yeah. So we are still figuring all of it out. And we have a pretty good idea of how we're going to run the event. But so right now we've still kind of been in the collecting information stage. So I have a Google sign up form that I've put out to the main Discord, the Rose City Discord, a few of the other local Discords, and I put it on Facebook. And it just asks some information about the various crews. So, like where are you located? What size are you? Do you think you'd be able to host a qualifier event? So that's kind of where we're at right now. But we are about to move to the next step, which is I'm going to contact all the people that have contacted me. I'm going to say, hey, it looks like you guys are the right size. You're able to host an event for us. And I'm going to send you some invites. So the easiest way to get set up with this is to reach out to me or to go find the form. It's been posted a few different places and just fill it out. we're still going to be accepting different crews in, and we want to accept even more crews, probably all through January. I am going to start sending the invites out in about a week, but we can always make more invites. So we are planning for 50 players for this first one, but if we go up a little bit more, if there's more interest, we'd be happy to include more people.
So you have to qualify. You gotta. All right. So this is in the early stages of development. So you are going to, if so, this is a West Coast, but a little bit more focused on Northwest Coast, Northwest US. If you are a pre-modern player or host a pre-modern scene, or maybe a store, you're trying to get into it, they hit you up, and then you suss it out, and you say, okay, these people seem like they know what they're doing, and they can pull a decent-sized event, and you will send them invites. And this invite means that they get to go to the Rose City Premodern Tournament of Champions. I saw these invites. I saw pictures of them. Can you tell me about those?
Yeah. So I went on some of the custom card creators, and I monkeyed around for a little bit to kind of come up with this design for the invite. Wanted to make it look like an old school artifact, like something that you'd actually just pull from a pack.
Yeah.
And so we reused an art from, I believe, a Tome of Fools, and the artist is credited on the bottom. And we have a gentleman in our scene that does proxy orders. And so I reached out to him and like, hey, how do I need to make this so that it looks all nice and crisp and comes out nicely? And he helped me out a little bit, and I've received them back now, and they're looking real nice.
I thought they looked nice too.
Oh, thank you. But it's really cool that so we had our monthly in January already on the 4th. We had our first tournament winner who got the first invite, and it was kind of cool that we gave him a physical card. He's carrying it around with him, and so it'll be hopefully like a physical reminder too that we have this event coming up.
That's sick. I personally treasure all these. Like I've been playing Magic since 1999. I think I got the starter 99 birthday box kit from one of my fourth grade classmates, Anthony. He ruined my life, and I had maybe, in terms of like doodads and trinkets and memorabilia, I had maybe 9 or 18 little trinkets of like unglued goblin tokens that were assigned by like prominent Storm players and things like that. Just a couple of miscuts. But in the 4 years that I've been really involved in Premodern, I just have like pages and pages of like stamped cards and scalps from AAA and funny tokens and funny doodads and stickers, and I can't get enough of this shit. So I think that's gonna be a really special thing. I have like top 8 stamped cards and doodled on cards. I think that's gonna be a really special thing, and I can imagine if for those who are display enough gameplay prowess to earn one through force of will and strong spell casting, I think that will be a treasured item for them.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
One of our locals said something interesting to me at our meetup this last Friday, was that people play Premodern to have great stories. And that's kind of stuck with me the last couple of days. It's been rattling around in my brain. But I really think it's true. I could tell you 5 stories right now of bad beats, or 5 stories right now where I just drew amazingly, and I've met a lot of great people, and I think that so the gameplay is great. The gameplay is fantastic, but like these great stories in this great community, I think is a big draw for a lot of people, and it can be something as simple as having a cool little proxy invite or a stamped top 8, top 4 card. But I think that this focus on the community and the stories and the artifacts, I think that that is a big draw for a lot of people.
Sure. I think, yeah, I can imagine that for those who have earned it, 40 years from now, being in possession of one of those will be something of a clout indicator. I think that's going to be really cool. So who was the first invitational winner, out of curiosity?
His name was Wyatt. He just won our January monthly playing Survival Welder.
Okay, hell yeah.
We had two Survival Welder players, and I think both of them made the top 8. One of them is Wyatt, and forgive me, I don't actually know his last name.
Sure.
And then the other one was David Cross, who's one of our TOs and a little bit of a local legend, I'd say. He actually played in LobsterCon last year.
Yeah.
He was in the top 30 something on Draco Blast of all decks.
Yeah,
So,
we're all glad to see him up there.
yeah.
Cool. So when is this event? When is the Tournament of Champions?
So our plan is to host it in January 2027. So about a year from now.
Okay.
The idea being that we'd like to kind of get in contact with the crews. We'd like people to reach out so we can reach back, send the invites, and then people have the entire 2026 year to host qualifying events. We kind of intend this as a celebration of people that have won events in 2026.
Sure.
So people are, we would like them to be spread out over the course of the year. If we get 40 events that all happen in January and February, that'd be cool. But then we kind of have a little space before the event happens where we don't have as many qualifiers, as many events happening. But cool. Yeah, so we have received a few questions on that too. Why are we holding the 2026 tournament in 2027? The idea being we want to celebrate all the winners of 2026, even people that win in November and December.
Sure. I think that's a good idea. So I want to ask you what you think about. So you said you have been playing Premodern for less than a year now?
Yep.
What? Let me think. I started in, I think, 2021 is when I started playing. So about when things started opening up after COVID. So what is your perception of Premodern as a recent addition? And then what is your perception over what's happening about the last month or so?
Yeah. So one of the things that really struck me when I started playing is just how good Wasteland and Rashad and Port are.
Yeah.
When I think of this format, I think of Wasteland and Rashad and Port, and then I also think of poor mana bases. Those two things alone do a lot to kind of keep the meta fair and honest. I like to brew a lot of junk trash decks. I like to play a lot of junk trash decks at my meetups, and it's kind of one of the things I'm known for in the Portland area. Is every single week I got some new junk to play, and most of the time, Wasteland, Rashad and Port, Duress, and Meddling Mage stop me from having any fun on my new hot trash.
Okay.
But besides that, I think that it's a really well balanced, really fun format. I really like that aggro decks have a serious place. I kind of come from a background of playing competitive EDH. I did that for a couple of years. I was kind of looking for something new to jump to, and I went to Premodern. And in competitive EDH, it feels like pretty much every deck is kind of like a Xerox, like draw a lot, tutor a lot, race to your combo win. So I really appreciate that there's a big focus on at like red decks keeping everyone honest. There's a lot more focus on combat. There's a lot more focus on one-for-one trades with things like counter spells, discard. So it's just been a lot different experience for me, and I've been having a lot of fun.
So
As far as
that's an interesting
sorry, go ahead.
perspective. That's an interesting perspective because I think of most pre-modern players as being, I think that archetypical, I don't know how to say the word, archetypical pre-modern player is a legacy refugee. So somebody who used to play legacy and then got out of it and then wanted to start playing Magic again, and then said, "Screw this! I'm going to go to old legacy." Or they are a exhausted legacy player who's just like, "I've had enough. I'm moving to pre-modern." And then like the second biggest population I would think of is like casual old school players who play a bit of pre-modern, and then lastly like a spread. So it's interesting to speak to somebody who is like just coming from EDH. That's an atypical Magic experience. So you're like, oh, aggro's a thing. Like I can attack with a creature and wasteland just one person, and it's like that's a good use of my turn.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been difficult for me to kind of learn this new skill set, right? If we talk about some convoluted combo deck that's got 10 steps in the combo plan, it's got an alternate plan if people interact with you, that type of stuff is right in my wheelhouse.
Sure.
I won 2 events in Portland on Enchantress, because that's just like how my skill set works, right? Like draw a bunch of cards, look for my combo, think about how do I live to the next turn, what do I need to do to set up, make mana, draw cards. All that stuff is great. But when I've been trying all these fair decks that are, very good and a very real presence in this format, it's been hard for me. That's kind of a big glaring weakness in my skill set as a Magic player. But it's been great to see, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of try something new. And we do have a lot of legacy players in the Portland scene, and they're all great at playing combat. They're all great at playing more fair decks and knowing exactly how to spend their limited resources. So I feel like I have been learning a lot, and just stoked to keep on going.
So there's been a very recent shift in pre-modern with the ascension of pre-modern MTGO play to a supported, although not official, but supported format on MTGO, at least for a brief period of time. And then separately from this, we've had a major market indicator of the growth of pre-modern in a more organic way. It's harder to get a ticket, particularly in the Northeast U.S. It's getting harder and harder to get a ticket to an event. LobsterCon was unfortunately had an element of luck to it, which kind of stank. But the Duress Crew regionals are selling out in. You have to be seated at your computer if you want to get a spot. We just had a monthly in New England or in Massachusetts that has historically been like 30 to 45 people, and it hit I think 66 yesterday. So do you have this? Have you been noticing a similar thing in the Northwest?
Oh, definitely. So I went to my first monthly in March, and I think it was 24 players, and March, April, May, it was all about low 20s. We have been hitting 30 players this last few months. We've had a lot of new people join our Discord. We've had a lot of new faces come to the meetups, and there's definitely been a lot more interest. And it's been cool to see the format grow. It's been cool to see a lot of new faces, new voices. But on the collecting side, I'm not done getting all my pre-modern staples yet. So I am feeling the pain a little bit. the prices of stuff has been going up, and I wish I could have just stayed a little more low key for maybe one more year.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm pretty kitted out for most of the Terraform decks, but I mean, as time passes, I'm getting more and more experimental, and I'm kind of in the zone of messing around with survival. And it's like, oh, like Krovikian Horror was 50 cents or $1, and now it's 6. Um, I thought I might only need one squee, but now I need 4, possibly 5, if I want to build like a madness thing and a survival thing or what have you. So I'm feeling that too. Have you noticed how these newcomers, the great unwashed masses, who we're gonna clean up, what's their demeanor been like? Have you struggled? Has your local scene struggled to accommodate, or is it like, oh, everybody who's showing up is cool?
We're pretty lucky in that most of the people that have been showing up are pretty cool. Um, you know, in any group of people, there are always going to be one or two people that maybe you don't gel with super well, but you can still get along. And I've definitely noticed that in the Portland scene. Is there's no one that I'm unhappy to see come to an event. There's no one that I feel like their conduct or how they talk, how they behave is just too much. So I think we've been very lucky in that regard, and most of the players that have come, they used to play Modern or they used to play Legacy, so they're already very familiar with the rules. They're normally already a tournament player, so we're very lucky in that they just slide in pretty easily.
I feel the same way. I was talking about this with Rich Shea yesterday about how pre-modern is like a cool, pleasant, crisp bucket of water. And new players who might be coming from other formats, they might be more competitive or spikier. They're coming in at a higher temperature, and then like they're a drop into the bucket, and then they through heat transfer they chill out. And I think that as a cohort of people enjoying a casual format with an emphasis on community and an emphasis on having like a fun, pleasant social time, I think we've been doing a very good job so far with staying chill and encouraging other people to be chill. Personally, I'm in probably the healthiest I've ever been in my relationship with Magic, where I'm like, I'm engaged, I'm playing. I'm not like choosing a shit deck because I'm mad and want to self sabotage. I'm not getting too spicy, but I'm also like losing some games because I got a little spicy, but I'm being cool about it and I'm like learning from it. So I'm glad to see locally in my scene, and I'm glad to hear locally in your scene that people who are coming in seem to be getting it. They seem to be okay. It's to quote Phil Nguyen, you can just play things. Like, go ahead, man. If you want to play Beasts and Contested Cliffs My Wayfarer or whatever, hell yeah. Like, I hope you win.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that really makes this format special is that so many of these kind of like tier 2 decks, for lack of a better phrase, can still win.
Yeah.
Looking at the monthlies in Portland that I have gone to, we've definitely had a few people win with some decks that wouldn't be considered, like the tier 1 decks that you want to play if you want to win an event. 2 or 3 months ago, I believe we had a gentleman that won on just a pile of black cards. It was kind of like a reanimator Icarid type of deal going on, and he had 20 swamps, 20 creatures, 20 spells, and he just had a great day, and he's a great player, and he took it down with that.
What a
And
king.
I think that's something that's just absolutely great about Premodern.
Yeah, we're lucky to have this, and I hope that we're able to like I said, I hope everybody's able to stay chill and to be extra chill so that these newer players who might be a little bit more steamed up from other spikier formats are able to hang out and enjoy this for what it is, and that we're participating in something special.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to take a moment to talk about what kind of culture we'd like to have at the Tournament of Champions event.
Yeah, please.
Go
off.
So, Rose City Premodern, we kind of come from the old school community. That was the basis of our culture, and we'd like to keep that going into the Tournament of Champions. So the tournament is going to be a charity event. So we want to have some cool prizing for the people that do well. Anyone that makes the top, we'd like to have a cool prize. But the biggest thing that the winner gets is bragging rights and to pick a charity for some money to go to. We would like to see people competing. We want to give players an outlet for, a little spikiness. We want people to bring their best, play their best, do their best. But we also want them to be good sportsmen. We want people to be having fun. We don't want people to be angle shooting. This is still, it's a community event. It's for fun. We want people to have great stories. We want people to be excited to come back. We want to build some friendship. We want to build some connections on the West Coast. And, if someone really, really wants to win, great. We'd love for people to compete. But we don't want people to be sacrificing their good attitude or, being a good sportsman in the way of winning.
I think that's a great thing to emphasize. I think that as time goes on, I look to old legacy, like maybe like 22 or 2007 era, and I would like to really. I hope that we don't get any more competitive or spiky or any spikier than that. And I think that emphasizing the charity element is a great way to do it. So hats off to you, sir. I think this is going to be a great time. I'm glad to see that you're doing it. I am interested to check back in with you when this is all done, to see what can be learned, what to do if another area, perhaps Mid-Atlantic or Southeast or Central U.S., Midwest, perhaps Wisconsin, has a cunning retort to this model, and I'm interested to see how this all shakes out as the competitive and or intra and inter-regional tournament scenes interact and coalesce and congeal. So I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. TQ, Thomas, where can crews or TOs or players get in touch with you if they want to learn more about this, if they want to see if they can get a ticket to give out to one of their winners, or if they want to try and play as many events as they can to try and get themselves a ticket? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get a hold of us is to join the Rose City Premodern Discord. You can find us as one of the links on the main Premodern Discord under the regional servers. We have a lot of cool people in there talking about a lot of stuff, but you can always get a hold of us in there. I do post sometimes on Facebook and the main Premodern Discord, including the Google Form sign up. So if you want to get your crew connected, if you would like some invites, if you want to hold a qualifier event to then feed us your champions for our bigger event, we'd love to have you. Just come find us on Facebook or Discord and get connected.
Thomas, I wish you most sincerely for this to be successful, and I'm certain that it will be. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, this has been the Federalization episode of Hardcast. I'm Tommy. I'm not Tommy. I'm Billy. My guest is Thomas of Rose City Premodern. Hats off to them for a great start to a great idea. And thanks for listening, listeners. Goodbye. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Section 3 of the Federalization of Premodern episode of Hardcast. I remain Billy Mills Curran, and I am joined by S-tier homie, the most courteous, the most august, Phil Nguyen. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. I was promised Section 1, though, top billing. So
top billing?
Yeah, Section 3. We're going to have to go through the contract again. So
Did I say that when I hit you up? I was like, you're number one in our hearts.
That's even better.
That's even better. So I hit you up. So first I chit-chatted with a local from New England, Hodge, and to you listeners, that's Commissioner Hodge. And then we chatted with Thomas Q of Rose City Premodern. They are both engaged in endeavors related to sort of a tournaments that link other tournaments to each other. So historically, Premodern has enjoyed sort of like a local, monthly, seasonal, annual model, and they've all been very much independent events, nothing to do with each other. But in chatting with Hodge, he's tracking points between events. And then in chatting with Tom Q, he is attempting to qualify, and I'm certain he'll succeed. He's attempting to qualify players. And this all has to do with a big tonal shift in Premodern lately. So, Phil, how has this looked to you? Do you agree? Are there lots of new players, or is this like no news?
I think there's definitely been a big influx of players, and I'm pretty optimistic about it. I think that there's definitely been a lot of interest on Twitter. There's been a lot of interest on Discord, where I help moderate, and so you see a lot of influx of new people coming in and asking questions about different decks, and honestly, that's been really cool to see. Like, people are asking about, I don't know, Slide or Madness, like classic decks, but they're also asking about the best ways to win a tournament, like asking about Stifle Knot, or even cards like what card might be banned or unbanned. So you get a lot of those conversations when there's been an influx in the format, and so we've seen that. I used to help run the Premodern meetups. I don't do it as much anymore. I haven't been able to attend in quite some time, actually, and it's actually been kind of shifted to one of the great game shops in Manhattan, Hex & Co. And so we run weeklies, and I think attendance to that has still been strong. It's been kind of unclear because, the last month was the holidays, and we're just kind of spinning back up the new year. But I think attendance has been pretty good. There's been a lot of interest. And then finally, the last point is that at least in the New York City Discord, we've seen a lot of new people joining, and also a lot of interest in organizing events. Like, there's a pretty big Long Island crew spinning up events. There's been a lot of events in the New York suburbs, New Jersey, Connecticut. So I think we've seen a lot of interest, and I think that's probably because of the growth of the format.
I think that's great. Historically, people have referred to you as, or at least I have a construct in my mind that is that you're the onboarder, that you are the sort of the prefect for the incoming first year students, if that makes sense. And let me think. I think I said that on Eternal Turtles, where I was like, look at Phil. Whatever he's doing, do that. And have you had much more sort of like correspondence lately? Like, hey, how do I get started? Have you noticed any change recently?
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of interesting because, I had twins a couple years ago, and so my actual amount of time to play has been greatly reduced. And I guess I would never consider myself like an excellent player to begin with. And so I spent a lot of time, instead of like practicing Magic, creating resources for Magic instead, or talking about it. And so I spend probably too much time on Twitter. And so I've definitely seen an increase in the number of people asking about how to get started on Premodern. And so I wrote a while ago an introduction to Premodern. It's just like a Google Doc. You can find it if you type in your web browser premodern.guide. And yeah, there's been a lot more visits to it. People are curious. I probably should update the guide. It's kind of funny because when I wrote it, I was like, this will be great. I'll write it and I won't have to update it that much because Premodern is, relatively theoretically a slow moving format, but in actuality, things have changed quite a bit since I started to play. And so that probably needs to be updated. But yeah, there's definitely been an influx of people asking about the best ways to get started in the format. I think what's actually been really nice is that a lot of other creators have stepped up to, or I shouldn't say stepped up, but they've created a lot of onboarding materials themselves too, which has been great. Like, Spike Colony with Lanny and Mike Flores put together like a great intro to the format, which is really nice because it's kind of talked about the community and the vibes and just how the format works as opposed to just like a straight listing of decks. Sam Black put together a podcast. There's been obviously the professor put together a video recently. There's been a lot of great resources out there that I think have offered like a wide view of the format as well as just giving people more options on how to get started.
One of I have noticed that very much as well, that there has been probably in the last 4 or 6 weeks, I think there were 2 very clear events. One was the introduction of MTGO on Premodern. There's a lot of content creators, most conspicuously LSV, Bosch and Roll, who, there's always been Neon Mushroom, bless his heart, cool guy, but seeing like S tier content creators who largely limit themselves to MTGO content creation. So besides that, I've seen a lot of hey, here's how you get started content. So that was like MTGO. That was the first event that kind of kicked this off, and then the other one was it wasn't like a viral tweet, I would say, but it was more of a viral moment or a zeitgeist touch point of LobsterCon selling out so quickly, where the growth finally became like a thing that affected outcomes. Like, if you were sitting for the past, 5 years, if you were sitting at your computer when LobsterCon went live, you would always get a spot and you'd have enough time to punch in your friends' info and spot them and then just like sort it out over Venmo or whatever. But this was the first year where it's like, oh, like this is a finite resource, if that makes sense. Although I think from the New York perspective, like real estate is so precious there that maybe that's been an issue for longer. I don't know. But yeah, big moves, big changes lately. So your guide, which I've read, it's lovely, it's accessible. I think it's well written for the attentive novice. Is there anything that you would like to kind of emphasize for the new player, or perhaps more presciently emphasize for the established player.
Yeah, in terms of the guide in general, or just like
Or
the
just sort of like,
format, or...
I'm speaking to you as the the maybe like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the introductory sensei. Like I keep saying,
Yeah.
listen to Phil.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is that like, and I've had like a Substack draft of this for weeks now, and I just haven't been able to finish it. But so again, I spend probably too much time on Twitter, and I feel like me, Lanny, some other people have been like the annoying pre-modern people on Twitter for some time, and it's kind of reached a point in which like the acknowledgement of pre-modern, or at least the awareness of its existence, has reached critical mass. And so because of that, there are, as any social media platform, there have been a lot of haters that have come out and have just been like, pre-modern is a terrible gaming experience. I don't know why it's fun. And, sometimes those tweets will get a lot of traction. And they don't really bother me, to be honest. Like my goal has never been to convince people that pre-modern is the format that everyone should play. I think my goal has always been like, how do I get everyone to at least try the format, or at least like think about it, know about it, and play it if they want to. And so I guess all that comes up to say is that like my biggest thing for people who are entering the format is that if you and I'm a little biased, but I think if you enter pre-modern through MTGO and you just play an MTGO, you will not understand why pre-modern is like so great, I guess, and why people like me are always like harping about the benefits. Because I don't know, like you rent some cards, you sit in your room, you like jam through a few games, you get tided, whatever, like a turn 2 stifle knot, and you're like, wow, this format kind of sucks. Like, I don't know why people are always talking about it. But I think like it's like one of those things where if you try the food from like a super fancy restaurant and you take it to go and you try it at your home, you're like, I don't really get the hype. It's like this is whatever. But if you go to like a fine dining experience, you kind of get the whole package. You're like, wow, the maitre d' like knew it was my anniversary. The lighting is so great. Like, I feel like that's like kind of the best part about pre-modern is like, I do think the gameplay is good. I really enjoy it, but I think it's like the community. It's like chatting with people who have like of all walks of life. Like, people are ex-pros or ex-champion players. There's a lot of players who are like brand new too. And so I think there's also like something to be said about collecting the cards and like viewing them and sleeving them. It's just like a whole different aesthetic than a lot of the contemporary cards. And so, speaking of LobsterCon, like you said, like going there, seeing the artists, playing for charity, playing for a lobster trophy, like these are all things that are, I think in my mind, like critical to the pre-modern experience. And it doesn't have to be LobsterCon itself. Like, there's a lot of great communities out there, right? Like the Spanish guys are playing their like techno leagues, or like, there's just like, everyone has like such an interesting character that I think is very cool. And I don't know if that kind of experience exists as strongly in some other formats. It kind of varies, but like if you play standard at one store, is it the same as playing a standard at a different store across the country? Maybe. I don't really know. But if you play in different crew events, like I think you'll find that there's a lot of variety. And so I guess that's my biggest thing when it comes to onboarding to pre-modern is like, I feel like MTGO is a great thing and I'm glad that it happened. But I do think that it'll only give you like a part view of what makes the format so great.
I could not agree with you more. I think that the local flavor is a very prominent thing. Like in the past year, I went to a Zoo Crew event and it was like a Halloween party. Like there were door prizes for like best costume, and like the TO was dressed like Willy Wonka. And it was just like, it was so outrageous. There's charity raffles. The thing that I have found in common, though, is that because it has not been supported by WotC, there is this element of like everybody has to figure it out, and people figure it out in their own like different ways and ways to make it entertaining. So it's like you can, in the same way as you had said in your newsletter, you can just play things. It's like you can just do things. Like that's how the Duress Crew charity raffle started. It was like we realized that we wanted to have a philanthropic element to our tournaments. And we're just like, oh, how do we do this? And it's just like, all right, man, like Worcester County Food Bank takes Venmo. That's a good start. Like nobody wants to starve. Seems good to me. And that's how that kicked off. Like it was just do it, man. Like you can just play things.
Yeah.
So
I do want to interrupt there real quick because I think you bring up a good point. And so like, one of the things that people bring up sometimes of like, whenever there's a huge wave of new interest in pre-modern, they're like, oh, has the discourse changed? Like, are the vibes completely different? And I don't actually know if they are, to be honest. Like you get a lot of questions about like proxying and gold borders and stuff like that. And I've always been of the opinion that you can just organize things however you want. Like sometimes there's like, why doesn't Martin Berlin make gold borders official? Why doesn't he make proxies official? And I think a lot of players come from formats that are very top down, that are like, WotC says this, and this is what you're going to do. This council or committee says this, and so now we can do it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, part of the joy of pre-modern is you can kind of do whatever you want, and it's okay. Yeah. Like New York, Sunny has set up events where you're not allowed to touch the top of your deck other than the draw phase.
I thought that was great.
We've done events where you can only do spicy decks and like rogue decks. And it's not like we needed like Martin to decree that this was okay, you know, and like similar to your point, like you can just organize charity events, and if no one wants to come, then no one wants to come. But like you don't need some sort of like directive to do it. You can just kind of do your events as you want. And so I think that's been kind of the cool thing about pre-modern and why I've enjoyed it.
I have found that the old school community is just astonishing at their creativity in this way that like LobsterCon, like you can just serve lobster rolls and like you can just serve drinks and all these silly little things like some like if you're undefeated after round 4, you can don a lobster bib, which is an underappreciated thematic element.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The old school community I often look to for guidance about such things. The extent of my old school play is limited to AAA, which I cannot get enough of. Oh man, I'm so content to give you, whatever little sketch I draw. But I think that as long as we keep willing to innovate, if that makes sense, that we'll be able to maintain this like really cool, precious thing that we've all contributed to. Like I've hosted tier 3 nights at my home, so on and so forth. I'm currently sketching out like a Camp Chandelar thing. So like
amazing.
Yeah, like a AAA event with like NPCs and potions and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, doesn't that sound
fantastic?
Cool? Yeah. It's gonna be very hard to figure out. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I think that's what's nice though. Is like pre-modern kind of gives you the time to figure it out. Like I don't know if this is true or not, but we as Magic players, we all have a certain amount of creative energy, right? That we allow to be used for certain things, and I think. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. Could be a gross generalization. But I think a lot of players of contemporary formats, they use a lot of their creative energy to brew new decks based on spoilers. The metagame is always changing. There's honestly like a lot of events to go to. Like, do I want to qualify for this? Like, there's a lot of things to do. And, I think with pre-modern, there's still a lot of innovation going on. And there's still a lot of like competitiveness. But I don't know. I don't have to worry about spoilers. I don't have to worry about like my deck becoming obsolete for the most part. And because of that, I'm like, I'm going to plan something amazing. And I'm going to do something really cool. Like I'm going to give back to the community in some way. And to your point about like hosting cool events, like you talked about, it's like there is no WotC infrastructure that's doing this for us. And so to attract people to your events, like you have to make them cool, and you want to make them cool too. Like I think like each crew and each organizer wants to be like, my event is special and you should come to this because of X, Y, and Z. And I don't know if a lot of other, again, I don't want to make this like a format versus format thing, because I still like other formats too. Like I'm not anti Universes Beyond or anti like WotC or something like that. I'm just kind of trying to point out the differences in how the different communities or formats operate. But like I think when an LGS hosts like a FNM or whatever, they kind of operate it as if how WotC kind of tells them to do it to a certain extent. Like obviously there's variances in pricing and other stuff, but the infrastructure is kind of there. People know what to expect.
Yeah.
Whereas like for pre-modern, it takes a lot of work to set up your own event, basically. And
we do have certain we do have pre-existing tournament culture expectations. Like I don't ask about gold border anymore. I just show up, and if it's not,
yeah.
Oh well. But the utility, I think, of FNM, standard FNM or what have you, or limited FNM, I think it has offered something like truly, truly great and effective for WotC, in that I can show up to a FNM in anywhere in the world, not just the US or North America, but I can show up and I know what to expect. It's it's gonna be 3 or 4 rounds, and I'm gonna show up in 15 and 60 times 4, blah blah blah. And I think having that's been really, really good for WotC, and that's been I don't remember a pre FNM time. I think they started doing that in maybe 1997. But where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought. I think that creating something cool for your local scene, having your own like local shticks. I do also like about Premodern that if you go O2, that it's like it's okay, and then you can play against Turtle Splash and like I don't know, people playing like Harrow or something like that, or like Seismic Assault, and like cool.
You were talking about me. I am very familiar with the O2, the O2 bracket.
well, you can just play things. It's okay.
Yeah,
like
no, I think that's great. And I actually do feel that way. And like I brew a lot of different crazy decks, and sometimes I do okay, and sometimes I don't. But I don't feel pressured to be like, if I don't master this deck now, a new set will come out and completely ruin this deck, and I'll miss my chance to play it.
Yeah.
Like if I wanna pick up and master Stifle Knot in the future, assuming it doesn't get banned or something, like I can do that. Like I have time.
Yeah.
There's no rush. But again, that's a personal preference. But
that's where I meant to go with my train of thought, is that if there is no urgency related to figuring something out. If I want to do a deep dive on a deck, I'm like, I figured out most of the concepts. I have to go pretty deep into Excel, or I could, instead of spending 6 hours on Excel and like pacing out like 3 mana leak versus 2 reb, or 3 reb versus 2 mana leak, or whatever, or I could figure out how to commission some local artist on how to make like a cool LobsterCon playmat, or I could take like pizza orders or what have you, or come up with some like silly bullshit sticker to mail to people, or some like silly sketch of like a stick figure mooning you. So whenever I lose my bad moons in AAA,
Amazing.
yeah, like you can enjoy this hobby. You can enjoy Magic without necessarily trying to spike a metagame, because the metagame's here to stay, like for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, my Substack draft that's been sitting there was going to be the 10 decks from 2025 that were more or less bruised that broke out. And so I think that there's still a lot of opportunity to build decks, like new decks that are competitive in pre-modern, which is great. So yeah, I guess in general, I'm very optimistic about where pre-modern is headed. You know, I've been playing. What year is it? 2026. So I've been playing pre-modern for about 8 years. So it's a decent amount of time, and I've seen a lot of different changes and growth spurts. And I don't know. It's probably because I don't jam MTGO like nonstop. And so like if I jammed it a lot and I saw a lot of Tide or whatever, like maybe I'd be like in a more sour state of the formats, but I play like, I don't know, a smaller amount of Magic, I guess. And so like for me, like I think there's still a lot of opportunity, and I don't know, still pretty exciting.
I think it's very exciting as well. I think of this as sort of you hear about this in like music scenes a lot, like particular shows where there was a riot or a particular person in a community who has moved away or deceased or something like that, where it's like, I think of this moment like right now as sort of like a demarcation line where there's like the pre-COVID people who are like the true graybeards, who I try to honor their legacy. I fail, but I try to. And then I kind of figure that this is like the an explosive or exponential moment in format growth. It'll I think now it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, you know, sometimes you'll hear questions about like, why does pre-modern need to get bigger? Like, why do we need more players? And I don't think that the goal of all of these efforts is necessarily growth for the sake of growth. Like, I don't think there's any point in that. But what I am happy about, and why I think it's important for the format to grow, is that it becomes more accessible to some people. Like you and I are very lucky. Like we live in a very, very pre-modern dense areas, like where you can play in paper or whatever, but you're on Discord or wherever, and you see people all the time who are like, no one plays pre-modern in my area. What do I do? Like, how do I play? And in the past, you would be like, okay, you could build 6 decks, bring them to FNM and see if anyone wants to jam, start building your own community, organize events at a brewery, whatever. Or you can play webcam. And I play webcam primarily as my way to play pre-modern. And it's fun, but again, it's not quite the same experience as playing live with like a crew or whatever. And so I think that's why I'm like optimistic about why pre-modern is growing and becoming more available and more well-known, is that for those people who like don't live in the Northeast corridor, they might have a better chance of playing pre-modern or getting more people to play with them. And so I think that's exciting.
I think it's exciting too. So this segues into my next talking point. So as the pre-modern population fills in like a slime mold approaching each other node in the slime mold web, there is a opportunity here and perhaps an inevitability of I use the word federalization. It's probably wrong. Somebody correct me. Go ahead. But of sort of a second tier, if that makes sense. So it could become a bit like the old school community where there's invite only, and it's invite based on like I choose to hang out with them or not. Like my house game is invite only. Like I'm not having you in my house unless I like you. But now we are seeing just a little bit, the first hints of something happening if you're good. Like you get to go and have a social experience that is determined by play skill only. And it should be, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. What do you think?
I don't have any valuable opinion on it, to be honest. So one of the things that that I like to say sometimes is I literally have zero knowledge of organized play. I started playing back in Ice Age, and I took a break at Meriden, which is basically the exact time frame of Premodern, which is one of the reasons why I love it. But during that time, I think I went to one FNM and one pre-release. And then like to this day, if you asked me what a RCQ or a GP or like the Mythic Invitation, I have no idea what any of that is. Like I could not explain it to you. And so when people are like, I would love to set up this invitational tournament where the X best players qualify and then they all go to this place. I'm like, that's great. Like I said, I'm not an amazing player and I don't have time to travel really. And so I will never be in that sphere, I guess. So if people want to organize that, then and people want to go to that, then that's great. Like I'm glad. Like I can't wait to see the results of like what decks do well or if there's any spicy brews or anything. Like I'll be excited to see it. But that organizing that type of thing or being involved in that type of thing has never been anything that has been of interest to me, basically. But I'm glad people are trying out new things.
I'm having this moment of revelation here, and it's just like, ladies and gentlemen, like the unadulterated mind. Like you've just never been contaminated by WotC's crooked tendrils, like snaking their way into your wallet, like relying on FOMO or vanity to try and spoil you. Like you got this really chill Substack, and you're like famously pleasant to like new people and like inclusive. And this is, we should all aspire to be just like you.
It is kind of true that I am very pre-modern pure in that way, in that I also have never played Commander ever, a single time. And I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just like, I've pretty much only done kitchen table for a long time, and then I played Legacy for a couple of years. That's what got me back into Magic. But only went to one really big event, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
I like where I'm at with Magic. Yeah. Like I feel like it's a very, one of the things that I talk about sometimes in my Substack is just like reevaluating your relationship with Magic and just trying to figure out like what makes you happy, what gives you energy, like what things you want to work on. And that changes a lot. And like, I feel very happy right now with my relationship with Magic, like just playing casually, setting up resources, helping plan events in the New York area. Like, I don't know. It's been good.
I have been feeling a similar experience of just a very, I'm so easy to troll. I always bite. And I just get, I'm
so sorry.
What's that?
I'm so sorry for my my role in that.
Oh, you're I don't think you owe me an apology. I think or really anybody does. But lately I've been kind of double checking to see like, okay, am I not just from like a cool guy, like, oh, I have a podcast and I'm like in this like gang that like runs events, not just from crew rep, but also like, am I fun to be around? Like just like in my own individual capacity, like do people want to like hit me up and invite me to their house to play Magic, or for whatever silly rule set of like, I don't know, mono 4-ofs or whatever the theme is for the day. And I think that this self-reflection as you're having it's a good habit to be in. And I hope that new players adopt this concept of like, it's still a hobby, dog. Like, nothing's going to happen if you win. Like, you might walk away with a Mox Diamond if you play all day, but like, if you just worked landscaping that day, you can also get a Mox Diamond.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, and one of the reasons why I talk about just like evaluating your relationship with Magic is that sometimes like people get the impression that like, if you're a pre-modern player, you have given up WotC, like you hate new design. Like, I don't think that's true. Like, you can play in balance. Like, you can like pre-modern and still play standard or whatever. Like, I don't think it has to be that way. And so I try not to make it like you must choose one format and all other formats are to be shunned. And I think just the important thing is just like, if you're enjoying a format, you play it, and if you don't, you can step back. And I think that's the nice thing about pre-modern is you can step back and it'll still be there more or less, which is really nice.
That does have moderating effect. Like there is no anxiety to play when you're in a bad mood. Like, you don't, I think deck XYZ is busted, and even though like I've been spending too much money or too much time or too many partner points or whatever, I have to play even though I'm in a bad mood. It's like, if you want to take a break, like, go skateboarding. Like, come back when you want to play Magic again, not because you feel compelled to play Magic. Maybe that's a secret sauce.
Yeah. And, to our earlier discussion of like, you can just organize things like I said, I organize Spice Paradise, which is like a Discord league that only allows like tier 3 and below decks, basically. And I think it's like a nice option to have. Like, you can, if you're tired of Stifle Knot or Replenish or Enchantress, stuff like that, like, you can play this league. And it's fun. It's proxy friendly. It's via webcam. There's no prizing, so the records like truly don't matter that much. And I think that's cool because, again, this could be a generalization. I don't know if there's that many opportunities in like organized formats to do this. Like, if you wanted to organize something like that for standard, or maybe for legacy or modern, I don't know, like, does such a thing exist? I'm not sure. Like, I feel like a lot of people who are playing standard like want to play the best standard deck because it'll probably disappear after like 3 months or whatever, and they're like kind of trying to get better because they don't have time. They don't have a lot of time to improve before the decks and meta changes. And so I don't know. It's another reason why I like pre-modern and kind of like doing your own thing. Yeah, you have the opportunity to do so.
This is very nuanced. I would have never have considered this perspective unless I had spoken to you about this.
Yeah, I am full of deep insights, which is usually why I get top billing on most of these things. So, but I will settle for slot number 3 this time.
Well, it's to reward the devoted listener is with the
that's true
the blessings of Phil Nguyen. I think that about wraps it up. I would like it's
so
just,
great.
It's such a good I don't know. I got a warm and fuzzy, and I just want to leave the listeners with that too.
Please do.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah. No. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, we should do this again or talk about something else too. I'm always happy to chat with you all, and I really appreciate that you all came down for our New York City event last year. So yeah. I do have a LobsterCon ticket, and I'm hopeful that I can finally go, since I think I've gotten tickets the last 3 or 4 years, and I've only been able to make it once. So we'll see.
I most sincerely look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, hopefully.
And
All
that's
right.
it for Hardcast. I don't know what episode number this is, but this is the last billet. To close out this episode, we will be playing a full song from Ben Gauthier's newest album drop, Hymns to Tourach, Volume 2. And it's been great. Thanks for listening.